two of the biggest kind of people in your life over this run in Bob Myers and Klay, also you had to see go. I'd say for Klay, like, putting aside all of what may or may not, I don't even know, like, led to it. As a fan, I'm sitting there like, damn, he got to be there with them though. Like like I'm looking at you and Steph and I'm like, yeah, he got to be there, man. Is that tough on a personal level for you in the same way? Because, like, again, putting the business aside, you've got to feel like, man, he got to be here with us.
Putting the business aside, that's my brother. We created ourselves together. Our names are synonymous. Like, there's what we've all been able to accomplish. There is no, man, remove this guy, it still happens. It don't. Like, the pieces were just like a match made in heaven, and the relationship, like, me and Klay the same age. Klay is less than a month older than me. And so we related on so many different levels. And the relationship that we had, I actually talked to Klay more today than I did when he played with. Because what you end up realizing is, like, when you see somebody every day, we don't need to talk on the phone. But then a week go by, you like, yo, I ain't talked to Klay. I hit him. And what I will say is, Klay will also contact me, which is like, I would have never imagined Klay would just be calling me out the blue. He'll call me out the blue and talk about something for an hour and a half. And it's like, man, I love that. That's our relationship, that something could be bothering him in his life and he's going to call me and talk about it for an hour and a half. I'm so grateful and thankful that that's the relationship we built.
Yeah.
And so to think about the journey without him, it sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my teammates and we're on our own journey and he's on his own journey, but just talking holistically, like, for someone that you accomplished so much with over the course of 11 years. And by the way, that's just not NBA championships. That's also a gold medal, right? Like, we're synonymous in so many different ways. To, like, see that break up, it sucked. Now, here's where you put the business aside and the personal also comes into play. When he called, I knew the pain he was in. That last year he was here, it wasn't Klay. Like, he didn't have his same joy. He didn't have everything that made Klay Klay. He didn't have. And so, in sitting back and watching your brother struggle like that, and I don't mean play, I mean struggle with what he feels about himself, what he feels about the situation. To me, that was hard.
Yeah.
And so when he called me and said, Dre, I'm leaving, I was in the car with my wife and my kids, and when he first called, I said, this Klay, he about to tell me he leaving. And I answered the phone. And he said, Dre, I'm leaving. And I was like, man, where to? He's like, I'm going to Texas. And I was like, Texas? Which team? Houston? He's like, no, I'm going to Dallas. And I was like, that's different for you. It was a landlocked city. Everybody know Klay love the water. He was like, man, I just think I need something different, Dre. He was like, I've been in California pretty much my whole life. I just want to go try something different. And I think Dallas would be a great way for me to try it. Still had an opportunity to compete for championships. They got Luka, they got Kyrie. But I just think it's the right thing for me. Now, in most cases, you'd be like, man, you sure, we can still do that? And I was just like, that's great. I'm so happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because no part of me wanted to try to talk him into staying, because I knew he needed that so much for him. Like, it was so much bigger than, man, I just want to finish with you guys and finish as a Warrior. He needed that for him. And being a good brother, you got to see past yourself and our situation and what we got. And sometimes it's right. And I said 11 years, it's 12 years. Sometimes it's right to just support and move on and be like, you know what? Because this is the right thing for you, I can accept it and move forward
Yeah.
with it. And that's what I had to do in that situation. Like the absolute wrong thing to do would have been to try to talk him into staying.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, he didn't need to. He needed to go.
Yeah.
Because he needed that to feel like Klay Thompson again.
Yeah.
And the most important thing for me as his brother is for him to feel like Klay Thompson.
Yeah. It's similar, circumstances different, but I felt the level from afar of almost sadness seeing Bob leave, right? And I understood the role that Bob played, not just as a president of basketball operations, but as like a sensei. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I witnessed it firsthand. And Mike is incredible, and I think it was a tough job to take on from Bob right afterwards. But how much of an adjustment was life as a Warrior without Bob there?
Well, number one, as you know, Bob is obviously the general manager that drafted me, gave me my first 3 contracts. 1, 2, 3, first 3 contracts, including my rookie deal. But even more so than that, like, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Like, that is a legit friend of mine who I still keep in contact with. We go to dinner and sit there for 3.5, 4 hours, and the people come like, "Hey, you're not kicking y'all out," but it's kind of gotten a little late, and the last table left an hour and 15 minutes ago, right? Like, outside of you guys, like, nope, we're gonna get out of here. You're right. We don't live too far away from each other in LA, and for me to see Bob go, like, it was tough because, like, it's the same guy gets suspended from Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and he didn't watch at Chase Center. I mean, at Oracle. He watched the game with me next door at the Coliseum. Like, this is the same guy who I know has gone to bat for me over and over and over again. When you have someone in your corner, it's hard to see them go. And so to see Bob go was really tough for me because it was more than the general manager leaving. It was a confidant, it was a friend walking out the door, somebody who I've seen for 12 straight years. When I go to work, all of a sudden no longer there. That was tough for me.
Yeah.
However, a lot like Klay, he no longer really felt like Bob, and so to know that he no longer felt like himself in doing the job, it felt like he couldn't do the job to the best of his ability anymore. As a friend, you're rooting for him to go do the next thing because I know how great he is.
Yeah.
And so kind of rooting for him to go on and do the next thing to continue his path to his greatness, and what makes him feel good. Mike Dunleavy got balls of steel. To take on a job after Bob Myers, arguably one of the greatest GMs we've seen in the history, who came to an organization that was a complete show, that was bottom of the barrel, that was laughingstock of the NBA, and to take that organization to the top and be revered by everyone, also a Bay Area native. And then, you walk into this situation for Mike, like there's no real win. Like, if you win, everybody gonna say, "Oh man, but Bob drafted those guys," and like he took it head on, started putting his own touches on it. Didn't with all due respect to Bob, but started putting his own touches on it, and has stood by everything he's done. He's been incredible. Communication, he definitely learned a lot from Bob, which you should do. But his level of communication, like, he will get in there and have a tough conversation in a heartbeat. And there's just so many GMs that'll hide from the tough conversations and they trade guys away. They do this thing. They let problems build up and then act like, "Oh man, it's because of that problem that we need to do this." And the reality is you could have put that fire out a long time ago. You didn't want to have the tough conversation. Mike is going to have a tough conversation, and Mike's going to make the tough decision. And I can respect that, like I said, for him to take over the role that he took on, it's a very thankless position because of the success that came right before him. And he just took it on. He's took it on with grace. He's taking it on with dignity. And he's taking it on like, no, I'm not okay. I'm not just going to stand pat. I'm going to continue to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
And I can respect that, man, because like I said, you could just kind of stand pat and be like, yo, we got these young guys, we got Steph, and just blank, nah, he's trying to make that thing work, plug in here, pull in there, plug. I can respect that, man. So Mike has been incredible. But just to see Bob lead, like, when you're going through this run, you envision it like, yo, we all going to lead together. And then you kind of start to see one domino fall and then another domino fall. And it's like, dang. But, we still got some of our core pieces still here. We're still trying to make it happen.